Good morning, children. Let's continue the story The Rat Trap, written by popular Swedish writer Selma Lagerlöf. She's a Nobel laureate and she has written this story in very interesting manner. It's like a fairy tale, and I'm quite sure you must enjoy it till the, till this time. So what is the story about? It's a story about a peddler. He has very pessimistic attitude towards the world. And it's due to misfortune. Sometimes he resorts to begging and even stealing to survive. He has a view of the world that the world is a big rat trap. And he believes that the life of a man is like a mouse, rat. How we put for cheese, how we put for mouse cheese. And then the rat is attracted by the cheese or pork. And then it gets caught into the rat trap. Similar way, there are so many temptations in this world. We get caught due to those temptations. And our life changes. That's the end of it. We get trapped. And there's no escape from it. This is what Rat Trap Peddler believes. But there's a moral in this story at the end. And what is the moral? Essential human goodness exists in every human being. And with the help of the compassion or kindness, one can arouse that essential human goodness in a person who may be a wicked. And we can see a great transformation in this rat trap peddler at the end. So let's continue this very exciting story, The Rat Trap. It was not more than half an hour before they heard the sound of carriage wheels outside the forge. And a new guest came in, but this time it was not the ironmaster. Now, you know that he has come to this iron mill and he wanted to remain there for a night. The ironmaster happened to come there on his night round and he invited him to his house. But this tramp, this peddler was not ready to go to his house. Then after that, what has happened? After a gap of half an hour, it's ironmaster's daughter who has come there. A new guest came in. And who is this new guest? Ironmaster's daughter. So he had sent his daughter, apparently clearly hoping that she would have better powers of persuasion than he himself. He felt that probably she is better in persuading others. And therefore, he might come to their house and together they can celebrate the Christmas. So on the eve of Christmas, he wanted to be there as a guest in his house because he feared that the person who had taken shelter in his forge, in his iron mill, was his old acquaintance. But was he his old acquaintance? No, he was not old acquaintance. He had mistaken him, so he mistook him. And the way this peddler behaved, he never tried to pretend. She entered followed by a valet. She entered followed by a an attendant carrying on his arm a big fur coat. She was not at all pretty, but seemed modest. She seemed very humble and quite shy. In the forge, everything was just as it had been earlier in the evening. The master blacksmith and his apprentice, his trainee, they were sitting there on the bench and still they were working. Iron and charcoal still glowed in the furnace, so still they were working there. The stranger had stretched himself out on the floor. So he was lying there, sleeping there, lay with a piece of pig iron under his head. So he kept, so as a pillow he was using that pig iron, I know, and his hat pulled down over his eyes. As soon as the young girl caught sight of him, she went up and lifted his hat. So what she has done, the moment she has seen him, so she has gone to him and she has lifted his hat. The man was evidently means clearly, used to sleeping with one eye open. So he was peddler, but he was also a thief. Sometimes he resorted to thievery. So sometimes he used to steal. So this man was clearly used to sleeping with one eye open, always alert. And suddenly when she has lifted his hat, what he has done? He had jumped up abruptly, all of a sudden. Suddenly he had jumped up. And he appeared to be quite frightened. He was very shocked and he was very much afraid. Ironmaster's daughter has come to the forge. Now she introduces herself. And Ironmaster feels probably his daughter can persuade this stranger. And that is the reason why he has sent his daughter. And she introduces, she says, "My name is Edla Wilmanson," said the young girl. "My father came home and said that you wanted to sleep here in the forge tonight. Then asked permission to come and bring you home to us. I'm so sorry, Captain, that you are having such a hard time." And she explains that when father came, he told about this peddler. Then she took permission from the father that she would bring him home. And then whatever the father had explained to her, she tells that when he had come, he had told the hard times or the difficulties that you were facing. And when she looked at him compassionately. She looked at him with compassion, with sympathy, with her heavy eyes. And then she noticed that the man was afraid. And here she is very intelligent, very sharp, astute. Either he has stolen something, so she's thinking about that. Or else he has escaped from jail, she thought. She thought, she didn't say anything. So this man was afraid. But father had said his old acquaintance. Now she has invited him to her house. And she was very intelligent, she was very sharp, and she could find that either he has stolen something or else he has escaped from jail. And immediately she has added quickly, "You may be sure, Captain, that you will be allowed to leave us just as freely as you came. So stay with us over Christmas, you stay one night with us. Let us celebrate Christmas together, and then afterwards you are free to live wherever you wish." So she comes to know that probably he is a robber or somebody who has escaped from the jail. And what she said this in such a friendly manner that the rat trap peddler must have felt confidence in her. So when she was talking, she talked in such a manner that she made him to believe her, and he got ready to go. It would never have occurred to me that you would be bothered with me yourself, miss. I'll come at once. So he's now ready to go with her because she could make him to believe her. And he accepted the fur coat which the valet, her personal assistant or personal attendant, handed him with a deep bow. With respect, he has handed over to him, threw it over his rags, and he has covered himself with that fur coat. It was winter, it was the month of December, and followed the young lady out to the carriage. So they were sitting there in the carriage. What is carriage? Carriage is just like Tonga that you are familiar with, without granting the astonished blacksmith so much as a glance. So without giving any glance to the blacksmith, who were totally surprised, they were astonished. But while he was riding up to the manor house, he had evil forebodings. Now, evil, very bad forebodings, foretelling. Now, thoughts started coming in his mind when he was on the way to the farmhouse, a very big, large house, manor house of the ironmaster. He was the owner of the factory. So they were going to his very big house, and that evil forebodings, the thoughts started flashing in his mind. Why the devil did I take that fellow's money? He had stolen money. Whose money he had stolen? Crofter's money. How much? 30 krona. Now I'm sitting in the trap. Now I'm caught in the trap and will never get out of it. So now he is repenting over whatever he had done. So here begins the transformation. So if he had not stolen the money, then they would not have any problem. So he started cursing himself that he had stolen the money. He would not have got trapped like this if he would not have stolen the money. And now he started feeling the money was a bet. Now I'm sitting in the trap and will never get out of it. That money was a bet. That money was a temptation which had led him into a trap. And the next day was Christmas Eve. So on the eve of Christmas, so very important night for the Christians, when they come together, have their food. And when the ironmaster came into the dining room for breakfast, he probably thought with satisfaction of his old regimental comrade whom he had run across so unexpectedly. Why it's very important for Christmas? Because that very night, Last Supper was of Christ, Jesus Christ. So he had Last Supper with all his disciples. And next day was meant for crucifixion. So he had Last Supper. So that night, usually all of them, they sit together, Christians, have their dinner together, or in the church, they will come together, have dinner. Because that's the time when he has given advice, he has preached to his disciples. So that was the Last Supper of Jesus Christ. And Christmas Eve is very important. And he is the guest for their Christmas Eve. So happy they were feeling. The next day was Christmas Eve, and when the ironmaster came into the dining room for breakfast, he probably thought with satisfaction of his old regimental comrade whom he had run across, whom he had come across by chance so unexpectedly. He never expected that he would meet his old friend in such a manner. First of all, we must see to it that he gets a little flesh on his bones. What does it mean? Little flesh on his bones? It means that the sailor should eat good food so that he will have enough flesh on his bones. So he'll have enough strength in his body. And his daughter was busy at the table. She was arranging the table. She was setting all those plates. And then we must see that he gets something else to do than to run around the country selling rat traps. So rather than selling rat traps, we have to find out some job for him, better job for him, so that he can earn his livelihood and can lead good life. It is queer that it is strange that things have gone downhill. Things have become bad. A downhill, worst, with him as badly as that. The daughter said, "Last night I did not think there was anything about him to show that he had once been an educated man." The ironmaster's daughter said that it was quite strange to see that the peddler had been in such hard times. But she expresses doubt. She says that she was doubtful whether this man was really an educated man. And then father says, so both of them, they are discussing about this peddler. "You must have patience, my little girl. She's quite intelligent. She could find that he was not educated man. As soon as he gets clean and dressed up, you will see something different." So father is arguing. So he tries to clarify that it was due to his bad condition he was like that. But once he dresses up properly, gets cleaned up, then you'll find totally different. Last night he was naturally embarrassed. He felt quite shy. So he has behaved that way. The tramp manners will fall away from him with the tramp clothes. So once he gets cleaned up, once he dresses up properly, all those tramp manners, vagabond manners, the person who doesn't have home, the person who doesn't have family, all those manners will fall away once he gets rid of those clothes. And just as he said this, the door opened. Who has come there? When they were discussing, father and daughter, they were discussing about the peddler. Suddenly he has entered. The stranger entered. That person, the peddler, has entered the room. Yes, now he was truly clean and well dressed. Now he was very much clean and well dressed. The valet, the attendant, had bathed him, cut his hair, shaved him. So he was looking quite clean because he was given bath, his hair had been cut, and now he was wearing ironmaster's clothes. So he was dressed in a good looking suit of clothes which belonged to the ironmaster. He wore a white shirt, a starched collar. And what is starched collar? Starch is the stuff that is used to make the cloth very crisp, fresh, and whole shoes, properly fitted shoes. So when he was wearing good dress, how did he appear? Did the ironmaster recognize his old acquaintance, or was he not his old acquaintance? But although his guest was now so well groomed, now neatly dressed, and he was appearing well, but what happened? The ironmaster did not seem pleased. He was not happy. He was very angry. To see this guest, he looked at him with puckered brow, with puckered wrinkled brow, this out of anger. He was pressing his brow. It was easy to understand that when he had seen the strange fellow in the uncertain reflection from the furnace, it was not very clear he might have made a mistake. But that now, when he stood there in a broad daylight, it was impossible to mistake him for an old acquaintance. He could recognize that he was not his old acquaintance. He was not the captain whom he thought so. What does this mean? He thundered. He was very angry now. And he thundered. The stranger made no attempt to dissimulate. He made no attempt to pretend. He saw at once that the splendor had come to an end. That luxury had come to an end. He was no more guest. He would be thrown out of the house. It is not my fault, sir. I never pretended to be anything but a poor trader. I pleaded, begged to be allowed to stay in the forge. What I wanted only overnight stay in the forge and nothing else. I pleaded. I just requested that, nothing else. But no harm has been done. I have not done anything to you. At first, I can put on my rags again. I'll wear all those rags, whatever I've been wearing. I don't need your clothes, and I'll go away. Well, now the ironmaster said, hesitating a little. It was not quite honest. It was not honest on your part. You must admit that. You must accept that. And I should not be surprised. And I should not be surprised if the sheriff would like to have something to say in the matter. So what I will do, I will hand over you to the sheriff. I will call the sheriff and let's hear the sheriff in your matter. Because you are cheated. And let's see whether he hands him over to the sheriff or he just allows him to leave the house. Thank you. Goodbye.